is a quick little film about drawing hands. So the hand. This is a hand. Hands are quite tricky to draw, so I'm just going to go through some things that I think are useful. If you look at a hand, the back of the hand, this bit, is the same size as the fingery bit. So if you measure from here to the base of that third finger, it's about the same size as from there, that point there, to the point that you bend here on the wrist. In fact, it's exactly the same size. If I measure it, look, that there, finger to base of finger, third finger, and I go from the same point down to here, I'm at the break of the wrist, aren't I? The wrist of my hand. So that's the first thing to take on board. This distance is the same as this distance. That's really important. And then you've got the wrist, of course, where the hand ends. You've got the bones of the hand in here, and you've got the radius and the ulna in here, the two bones that go up your arm. And you can see the end of the ulna here, this lump, just at the kind of knuckle of your wrist. You can feel it just there. So when you've got the hand like that, the way to draw the hand I would suggest, or a way to start thinking about drawing the hand, is to break it down like this. So just give yourself a shape of the back of the hand. So like this. It's kind of this kind of shape, isn't it, to begin with? And we're talking about this bit. Okay, the back of the hand. And then you need a shape for the fingers. So I'm looking at the edge of the hand, which is this bit here, and how it goes up to the finger. It's pretty much carrying straight on. And then I'm thinking about the distance I talked about. So this is the same as this. So that's about there, isn't it? And then I'm thinking about how the fingers curve as they go away, don't they? So the ends of the fingers here, they form a curve like that. Okay? Like that. And then on the side, you've got the part of the hand that supports the thumb. So this section of the hand here. And then from that, you've got the thumb. As soon as I start sketching in the thumb, I'm thinking about this negative space here. So the gap between the edge of the thumb and the hand, as the way I've got it here. And I'm just drawing my left hand. I'm right-handed. I'm drawing my left hand, look. So then I'm just going to do that. I'm going to show where that thumb is going to go, like that. And then the wrist's coming out of kind of here, isn't it? And there's the base of the ulna there, that bone, that slight lump. Okay, so we've got the wrist coming in, we've got the back of the hand, we've got the fingers. And then the next thing to do is to drop the fingers into this section. So if you think there are 4 fingers here, so just about the middle, just over the middle, because I'm looking at the hand slightly from the side, I'm going to draw that first finger. The first finger I'm drawing, that is. So the first finger in this case is the third finger on the hand. So just very lightly showing where that finger is going to go, because that's going to help me, because I then know that this finger has to go into this section, and this finger has to go into this section. Okay, and then this last finger is going to go into there like that. So already it looks quite like a hand. And all I've done is break it down into simple shapes, and then I've dropped the fingers into this section, this half, and the back of the hand here, and I've added the thumb. So that's a really good step. If you can get your head around that, you're halfway there. The next thing I think is very useful is if you put a line in for those knuckles. You can see these knuckles here in the middle of your fingers. There's a big knuckle, isn't there? The kind of main knuckle. And there's a smaller knuckle further up here. Look, another bend as your fingers, as the metatarsals, between the bone there, and the little bone here at the end, which is called a flange. So you've got these different bones, 1, 2, 3, and then you've got the bones of the hand. And up inside the hand, you've got these tendons that run all the way up the finger and allow you to pull the fingers up. And then you've got equivalent tendons underneath here that allow you to pull your fingers down. So these tendons control your hand, don't they? So you can see them. So get that knuckle line in like that. That will help. And then putting your hand back in the same position, if you're drawing your own hand, it's a good way to learn. I might sometimes even show those knuckles by giving a little bit of a squash to lips to show where those knuckles are. And there's also, a big join up here, isn't there? So quite a good thing to do lightly is to show where those, the big knuckles at the end of each of the fingers as it joins the back of the hand, show where they are like that. And you've got the same knuckle joints in the thumb also, but they're just over to the side slightly. But that can help. Now, having got those knuckles in, I can then more confidently show where these bends are in the fingers. So I'm going to go just a bit more weight on my pencil. Look, I'm going to show a little bit of that. So I'm going to come in like that, come like that, and at the end, of course, it curves up a little bit underneath the fingertip, but the top is slightly flatter. So if you're measuring from the side, a fingertip is kind of like that, isn't it? It's flatter at the top and it's more curved at the bottom. So a bit of a curve, and then I've got that, the actual end of the finger. So I'm looking from above, so this bit is quite flat that way as well. It kind of has a blunt end. And then I've got to be careful I don't go too far this way, because this near finger overlaps it slightly. So I'm going to just put a bit of a fold in there, look. And then I'm going to draw this straight finger here, the index finger near me. And again, same again. Like that, look. And then I'm coming up here, so I'm drawing this bit. And then I've got to get that right. So I can see that it then goes across. There's a fleshy bit of your hand here that joins between that index finger and the thumb. And that, of course, gives you your pincer grip, doesn't it? It means you can do this. So the fact that the thumb is out to the side slightly allows you to have an opposing thumb, which is a really kind of key thing, isn't it, for a hand that grips, as with humans and primates. So just keep the camera still. I can then drop the thumb in. It's got that bend look. Pad of the thumb. And then you've got nails. If you're drawing nails, just keep it really light. If you overdraw a nail, it can look really distracting. It's like overdrawing eyes, just keep it just really light. And then you've got the side of the thumb, the base of the thumb, like that. And then you can carry on with your fingers. So if you work away from you, the finger that's behind the next finger, that's a nice easy way to draw them. It's quite hard to draw them the other way because you're drawing behind fingers each time. So I'm going to work along the fingers that way. So I draw the next one like that. Like that. And again, I'm just making sure that I'm following that curve. And then I'm going to show that that's like that, curve like that underneath the pad. And then I've got this other finger over here. Of course, my view is slightly different from the camera view, so it's that. And coming in the side like that. Okay, and then I'm doing the side of the hand. Hiya. My daughter coming in. Of course, there is another little set of bends in the fingers just here as well, isn't there? Because there's another little bend here, look, at the flange. But that doesn't actually bend a great deal, but sometimes you can get a suggestion of it a little bit if you're really gripping your hand or whatever. So you can see now I've got the shape of that hand on there. And then, as with any drawing, I might then add some more detail. So I'm just put a bit of weight on the point there where it joins the hand. I might capture a couple of those wrinkles. Just need to take that slightly off because it's a bit lumpy. There you are. So there's a hand. So this section, the fingers, is the same size as this section, the back of the hand. Once you've drawn those shapes with the arc, drop in the fingers as outlines, and then draw the detail into the fingers by building from the front to the back so that each one overlaps the next one. Use another line to show you where those knuckles are going. That's really useful. And remember, the thumb comes out from the side like that, so you might probably easiest to think of it as a triangle. So you've got that shape, which is pretty square. Then you've got the fingers, same distance, but not square. Got a curved end, curved line for the knuckles. A triangle out the side here where the thumb joins onto the side of the pad of the hand. You've got the bones that come in here from the arm, the radius and the ulna and the radius. And it's the ulna, the head of the ulna, you can see that lump there. And then you've got the fingers, the metatarsal bones in here, which you can't see, but are inside there, that make the mechanics work of the finger. You've got the tendons running down the back, which control your fingers. And then you've got the thumb out here, haven't you, giving you that opposing thumb. So there's some things to think about when you're drawing hands. And I'm going to go through a few drawings now to show you again and again and again. It's about repetition really, just looking at how you capture that when you're drawing. And if you get this into your head, it'll make your hand drawing so much better so quickly. Okay, so now that we've got the hang of that, let's just go through it again a few times from a few different angles. So the first thing, of course, when you're drawing a hand is just a basic shape, as I said. So if you're drawing an arm with a hand, perhaps kind of a paddle on the end, or a paw even, a bit like a mitten. That's a good way to start, with that central line down the middle, and then you can populate that kind of mitten shape with the fingers, as we've talked about earlier. So when you're drawing hands from different positions, the side or above and so on, you need to think about these things in relation to the position you're looking at the hand from. So this one from above, just as we've been doing, kind of that line across the middle to show the back of the hand and the division with the fingers, individual fingers dropped in, an arc to show where the knuckles are going to go, and then when you're confident that you've assembled the hand, the four fingers and the thumb on the side, you can then go back in with a bit more weight and clarify the details. The thumb on this one's a little bit big. You can see I'm using the white there to drop in the light on the back, so you can see it against the brown paper with this blue colouring pencil. So here we go again. This time the fingers are a bit splayed, so they're opened up. So back of the hand, that shape, then the fingers with a nice curve to show where the fingertips are going to go, and then dropping the fingers in to the curves, and then establishing the middle line to show where the knuckles are in a minute. So there we are, the middle line to show the knuckles, and then picking out the fingers lightly, and when you're confident, then dropping in a firmer line. And I put a bit of a side on, almost as if the fingers have a kind of square cross section. It can be quite useful to think of them as solid shapes, so you can drop a bit of shading in the side. And then, again, firmness of kind of with the pencil when you're pretty sure of your line. And then here I am dropping in some white to kind of capture the light. Again, you can see it against the brown paper for the back of the hand, clarifying the knuckles, and the line of the tendons you can see there as well. And here we go again, this time a kind of pointy finger on the hand. So looking at the hand from the side, I'm very lightly establishing the length of the finger next to the thumb, and then the folded fingers that fold back into the palm. I can then, having lightly sketched them, work over them and build up kind of confidently as I'm sure of my proportions. Dropping a bit of shading in to show how the fingers, cast a bit of shadow maybe against the palm of the hand, because the palm of the hand's inside here, isn't it? So the fingers are over the palm of the hand, but you can see the palm of the hand. And the palm of the hand, like with the back of the hand, accounts for the same size as the front of the fingers. So, the proportions obviously front and back are the same. So don't neglect the size of the palm of the hand. I'm using then the white pencil here to pick out light to show that the kind of light's catching the curve of the fingers, and the dark within the palm of the hand gives you that depth in the drawing, doesn't it? The white really singing against the brown here, but it doesn't look quite as bright as that in daylight. And then here we go again. So just repeating the same activity, drawing a hand again. All the time I'm just drawing my other hands. I'm using my dominant hand, my right hand, to draw my left hand. If you've got, you've always got another hand, haven't you, to draw. So you don't have to wait for anybody or look at pictures. Just look at your other hand. So this time I'm drawing the fingers kind of curled slightly and the hand 3/4 view with the thumb towards me. So getting the thumb key, in place and in, the right proportion was really important, really key part of the drawing. Then once the thumb's in, and then building that hand behind with the fingers overlapping each other. The fingertips a little bit pointy, so I'm just kind of sorting those out, adding a bit of shading into the edges. Nice curve on the on the edge of the underside of the fingers. I guess using the dark blue pencil to pick out those edges, and then again the light catching the edge of the fingers, which helps the eye follow the shape. And of course I'm really paying a bit of attention there to that thumb, because it's in the foreground, isn't it? It's a very prominent part of that drawing. So get a sense of that thumb and the wrist. And you can see where I've marked the knuckles and the folds of the fingers, because this time I can see the underside of the fingers. So you've got those folds. If you look at your hand, you can see how your fingers have got those lovely folds where they bend at the various hinge points. And then picking out again with a bit of blue, kind of make the edges a bit sharper. So the hand, to there, kind of held together, the fingers coming together. And here we go again, just one last time, a very straightforward hand. Back of the hand, the shape of the back of the hand, triangle on the side showing where the thumb comes off, dropping the fingers in as we did with that first drawing, one behind the other. So using those lines to help me get the tips of the fingers on that curve, keeping an eye that the fingers aren't too big, that they're proportionately correct with the back of the hand and the wrist. And then as I'm confident, kind of working on that line and making sure that it's a bit clearer. And then here again, adding a little bit of white to show the light hitting the hand on the top. So I've turned the drawing over so I can, shade it from an easier angle. Remember the lines, it's nice if the lines follow the shape of the hand or follow the shape of anything you're drawing. So flat across the top of the hand here and then coming around the side of the finger. I don't know, like Henry Moore does when he was drawing, for instance, the miners and the tunnels, when he did those series of studies, using the line to capture the shape. So there we go. I hope that helps. Look at hands, draw your other hand, practice and practice, and your confidence will develop. You can't avoid hands. They're a wonderful and important detail when you're drawing people. So have fun, everyone. Bye.